just take action. That's the biggest advice I can tell people. Like it is, there's so many agents that know so much more than me when it comes to Medicare, and they come to me and they're experts. They literally are experts, but they're afraid to, go try something new, go try marketing on Facebook because they've never done it before. And they're used to grassroots and sitting in Walmarts and all that stuff, which is great. But, they tell me they want to get from A to B, but you got to take that first step. That's the biggest thing. Is even if you're a new agent, just go dive deep. You don't need to know everything before you start. The biggest thing that you said is, you said your confidence will catch up.
He's 24 years old. He's roughly just around 2 years in the business. He's on track to do about $2.5 million in revenue production in 2026. Now, he just told me before the interview that he's been in his mom and dad's basement, but he just bought and closed on his first office today. I want you to welcome today to the First Year Insurance Agent Podcast, Mr. Brandon De La Pena, all the way from the great state of Texas. Brandon, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Rob. Excited to get into it.
Yeah, man, when I saw another interview with you and seen some of the content you posted online, I'm like, man, I have to have this guy on the podcast because, Brandon, you know this. There are so many brand new agents that fail out of our industry. And the reason that I created this channel is I wanted to just give back to an industry that has blessed me. And it sounds like it's just been a tremendous blessing to you. So real quickly, talk about why the Medicare industry.
Man, I can go on and on all day about why the Medicare industry, but it's a beautiful industry to be in. I love it. There's some amazing people that I've met in this industry. That's one. But of course, the renewals is why everyone gets into it.
Yeah.
That's what I was sold on. I saw a guy with a book of business of 500 and told me he was making, over six figures in renewal income. And I was sold immediately. So that's why I got into it. And I quickly, learned that it's a very rewarding business model. You get to help people. You get paid for it. You get, some amazing reviews. Like those are, really what keeps me going and, helping as many clients as we can. And we built a team and a culture, and I'm now able to work with some of my best friends, my family, my brother, my sister in the business, my girlfriend's in the business now. And I get to wake up every day doing what I love, excited to get going. And I remember I was, working $15 an hour and dreading on Sundays the week. And now I get to, be excited for the week and, be able to build something that I own. And that's the other beauty of it too. You get to build a book of business that you own. You can be your own boss, and the sky's the limit with what you can, achieve.
Yeah, and I definitely love what you said about the renewals part. I actually was just having lunch with a P&C agent and a real estate agent yesterday, very prominent in our area here, and they were just blown away by the renewals, the possibility of the renewals of building the book of business, right? You meet with people one time, and as long as you serve them at the highest level and you close the back door, so to speak, they can be on your book for the rest of their life. And I love not having to start at zero every month or every year, and it's just compounding. So definitely agree with you there. One of the things that I loved about you that when I was listening to another podcast and just some of the even through some of the content you've shared, I want to talk about this concept of paying for speed. And let me explain. You're 24 years old, right? And you're willing to invest in yourself and in your business in such a way that you're willing to find somebody, right, and invest in that and pay them so you can warp speed, if you will, to where they're at. Talk about the importance of why that people that are watching this today need to adopt that mindset and get around somebody and even pay them if you have to help move you further along at a quicker speed.
Yeah, I mean, I probably spent about 70 grand last year in coaching, mentorship, all of the above. And everything I learned at scale, it's worth it. If I pay someone 10 grand and learn one thing, with a team of 10 agents, and that can help each one of them get from 20 to 25K a month in revenue, then that's a win for me. when I
Sure.
first joined my first, excuse me, I'm a little sick today, but
Yeah.
when I joined my first mastermind group, I think I paid like 8 grand and then $1,000 a month for it. That one group helped me learn how to market on Facebook and own my own marketing. And now we're spending about 40 grand a month on Facebook, and that's helped us scale to, close to 200K a month in revenue. And again, that I spent about 22 grand just in that alone. But to get a return
Sure.
and be able to, like you said, pay for speed, that's something I truly believe in, because there's a lot of people that know so much more than me. And why not just pay to learn from them? And of
Mhm.
course, I always tell people and be aware, like, there are scams out there. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I'd say 90% of
Absolutely.
the coaching programs out there
Yep.
are complete BS. But
Yep. I've been there,
the
done that. Yep.
10%, yep, the 10% that are
Yeah.
legit, um, it can literally change your trajectory in the business, and that's what happened with me. I paid to learn the marketing side, and I had the leads coming in, but the thing is I didn't know
Mhm.
what to say to them, and, then I
Yeah.
paid for the sales training, and it just
Yeah.
all kinda meshed together, and now I'm paying more for the leadership side of things and learning,
Sure.
how to lead a team, how to build a culture. And I'm also paying for my team leads. So like my brother and I have two team leads. I'm
Yeah.
investing in their, growth and mentorship, because I want
Sure.
them to learn that side of things. And that goes a long way, especially when they're, leading their own group. So yeah.
Yeah, and I don't wanna gloss over this because there's agents out there brand new, and you know this, a lot of them have sweat equity, not a lot of money, right? But I always tell agents, work your butt off to get the money and then go invest that in yourself because you're on track to do 2.5, $3 million this year in your 2 years and 1 month in the business. And I think you would agree with this. You would say a big contributing factor is being willing to pay for speed, correct?
100%. And I didn't start with, 4 or 5 grand a month in ads. I was just doing a YouTube video on this yesterday. I started with $20 a day when I first started. But the thing
Mhm.
is, I reinvested after every sell. I reinvested and it compounded. And then by the time you know it, 4 or 5 months after running Facebook ads, I'm spending 4 to 5 grand a month, but I'm making 20 to 25 grand in revenue that
Yeah.
month. And it compounds. You don't have to start with a huge budget. And when I started to pay for that mentorship, I was refereeing on the side, and I was working at
Mhm.
HEB, and I was
Yeah.
uh, flipping things. Like I was going to Goodwill and, flipping little things on
Yeah.
eBay. And I just saved that money. And I knew, like, okay, this is going to go towards something where I can invest and learn from people that are, successful in the industry. And it was probably
Sure.
the best, 8 grand I spent that month. And it
Absolutely.
was probably half of my net worth at that time, but it ended up working out.
Yeah, and it's interesting because and listen, if you're watching or listening to this today, take away this nugget. Make sure you write it down, put it in your mind. It's never a lack of resources, it's always a lack of resourcefulness. And Brandon, I believe this that we were all created in the image of God and that He has put an aspect of His creativity in all of us. And the reality is, we let fear stifle that creativity. And when it stifles that creativity, it hurts our resourcefulness, right? You talked about I was working a job, I was refereeing, I was flipping things. Whatever it takes to invest in yourself, ladies and gentlemen, do it, right? Don't make the excuse that you can't afford it because you may not be able to afford it today, but if you get creative enough, I promise you, you'll be able to create the funds to do that. So your primary model is the webinar model. Okay. Talk to us why you chose the webinar model and how that has played a part in you being able to scale. Because when we were off camera, you said you roughly had about 9 LOAs and you're hiring some more. Talk about that whole model for us.
Yeah, so I love the webinar because it's one, you can sell it year round. So we do a bunch of T65 business. So you don't have to
Hmm.
sell during AEP or OEP. That's one. Two is we have a higher revenue per client because it's T65 business. So we get them first when they are turning 65, and then we
Right.
embed all of the ancillary in the webinar. So what happens is, and we do seminars as well, but I like to
Sure.
where I can present one to many, and then get them on the calendar,
Yeah.
because if we can embed the ancillary in the presentation, it makes my agents order takers. I don't have to go hire killer sales agents. I can go find people. Like, most of my agents were making $12 to $15 an hour before they came to me. Now they're making 8 to 10 grand as an
Wow.
LOA, but it's because we have such a good marketing funnel to where the client gets on the call and they say, I want the med sup with the umbrella coverage. I saw Brandon talk about
Yeah.
that, and they just have to go over it and enroll them, and they don't have to re-explain and try to sell them and upsell them on this product. We already explain in the presentation how critical illness
Oh,
pairs with with the med sup or Medicare Advantage, how dental vision works, how recovery
yeah.
care is helping them get covered past 100 days. So that's one reason. And then two, or three, the lifetime value of the client is a lot higher because we're getting them when
Sure.
they first get onto Medicare. They have a higher lifespan than someone who's 80 or 90 years old and you're flipping their plan. They're more likely to buy. It's hard to get someone that's already on Medicare for 10 years and then upsell them
Mhm.
on a hospital indemnity plan. They've never talked about that.
Absolutely.
This is new to them. They're used to paying, $400 for their health insurance, and you can get them when they first get onto Medicare. The other thing, I can go on and on about this, but the other thing
Yeah.
is the annuity business that comes out of it. If you can write annuity business, that's a huge, that can literally cover your ad spend just by writing. All these people are retiring, and
Yeah.
you can, like I said, we were talking about it earlier, even if you just refer it out and just find someone that is
Yeah.
writing annuities, put it on their calendar. If they write a $250,000 annuity, your check that you're going to get sent is 7 grand. That's not the total commission. That's your check just by setting an appointment. We wrote about 2 million last year off the webinar, and that's all from setting
Nice.
appointments. We're going to bring in an internal annuity agent, uh, hopefully this year. And if you can write them, that'd be even better. But, just pulling everything out of them,
Yeah.
and being able to cross sell, it's a much better model for what we're trying to do, and it's very scalable too. That's probably the fourth thing is with
Yeah.
seminars and direct mail, you're mailing the same people. It can get oversaturated. I have one agent
Yeah.
doing seminars. I can't feed 10 agents those leads because we don't have enough people to talk to. So with the
Yeah.
webinar and online marketing, we have, we're licensed in all 50 states, and my LOAs are in about 20. So we have so many people to target over the phone rather than just, here in our local market. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love what you're saying. You're saying that someone brand new can really just come in and plug and play into your system, right? And you can plug them into that. And I'm assuming they're self-booked appointments, right? These people that are watching, registering for the webinar, you're priming the pump from the very beginning. They're being told about the umbrella packages or the cross-selling packages. But you can plug an agent in there who doesn't have to be this alpha male sales killer, or on the woman's side as well, alpha female. They can just plug into this system that you have, probably make 100K, right? If they really, really
Yep.
worked it their first year, and it just makes it easier for them because you've trained them. They're in this plug and play system, and everything just seems to really just be taken off. One thing that I love
Yeah.
what you said, and if you're watching this or listening to this today, I teach this in my cross-selling camp, Brandon, is I always ask agents, why are you breaking the tradition? And what I mean by that is people have been indoctrinated for years to get multiple policies in their corporate jobs or at their, in their current professions. But a lot of Medicare agents, for some reason, only do one or two apps. And so I say, why break the tradition? If they're used to getting all of this to protect themselves, why wouldn't you continue to protect them? So I know you've talked a little bit about cross-selling, but maybe give some more in-depth numbers or some more in-depth data on how important it's been to your particular business over these past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, last year, or not last year, last month, we did about 166K in revenue, and 100K of that came from ancillary. So if we don't
Wow.
cross sell, we spent 40 grand in ad spend, if we don't cross sell, we don't cash flow because I have to pay my agents out. I have administrative
Yeah.
costs, especially as an LOA shop. Maybe as a solo agent, you're making money, but
Mhm.
at scale, it doesn't work. And you can literally that's more than double our income just by cross selling. So we can take agents who aren't cross selling and literally double their income just by teaching them how to package products, and how to
Mhm.
offer it, and just by offering it and asking for the sell. Like some agents don't even do that. They don't even have it in their toolkit. They don't have the contracts, and which is
Yeah.
crazy to me,
Yeah.
because you're also protecting the client. If they go get cancer and they're on
Right.
Medicare Advantage, they're going to pay 20% out of pocket for chemotherapy. They're going to reach their max out of pocket. They're going to get, Eliquis or Xarelto if they get a heart attack or stroke, meet their max out of pocket on their Part D. If they have, dental vision hearing is probably the easiest sell for someone on MedSup.
Yeah.
Recovery care, anything past 100 days, they're
Yeah.
not covered. So, like, you are doing them a disservice as well by not protecting them. So, it goes hand in hand. You have to do them a
Yeah.
service to protect them, and also you get to make money off of that service. So, why not offer that? And
Mhm.
the best, not well, I shouldn't say this, but uh, when you get a claim, like, it's not a good feeling,
Mhm. Yeah, I know what you're
but
saying.
it's yeah, it's like I got to help that client. They're in a better position. Yes, it's terrible that they got cancer, but they're getting a $30,000
Sure.
check in the mail that's going to cover their, expenses for travel or hotel stays or whatever. And we always say the only thing that's going to put a smile on your face when you get cancer is a $30,000
Mhm.
check. So,
Sure.
um, yeah.
Well, no, I totally agree with you. I had a, pastor that came to one of my in-person seminars, he and his wife about 4 years ago. Unfortunately, his wife got diagnosed with cancer about a month ago, and they called in and said, "Hey, I think we remember getting that cancer policy from you guys." And like you said, it doesn't take away the cancer. I mean, we don't want that on anyone. We don't wish that for anyone, but it made us feel good that we did bring it up and that we
Right.
did offer it. And I always tell people this, Brandon, and tell me if you agree with this, but I always tell people I look at it as being a servant, that I'm here to serve all of my clients at the highest level. And when we do trainings, I ask people to raise their hand if they want to serve their clients at the highest level. And everybody in the room raises their hands. And I always tell them, what if I tell you cross selling at the highest level is serving your client at the highest level because you're protecting them against any type of gaps within Medicare and you're allowing them to have money in place because you know this one catastrophic diagnosis could really sink the ship for a lot of our clients today. So, talk a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a no-brainer, and with to especially like the hospital indemnity plan, a copay protection plan to pair with their Medicare Advantage plan. Like they don't have, if they $200 a day for 7
Yeah,
days for their hospital bill, they don't have $2,100, out of pocket. They don't have 6,000 if they meet their max out of pocket. I know we tell this story all the time because it happened to one of our agents' mother, and you stories sell as well. That's a huge thing,
sure.
and
That's good.
and you have to be able to tell those. We had a agent's mother get diagnosed in November. She met her max out of pocket in December. It restarted in January. Then she met her max out of
Mhm.
pocket again in January. So she paid about 12, 13 grand within 2 months just because of that. And she didn't have cancer plan. And just by, telling those stories and explaining it to the client, and then also daily sales training helps so much because we train every day with our internal team at 8:30. We train every day with our external team at 9, and we
Wow.
basically have them memorize these facts, and they know. Like we quiz them. I ask any single one of them, "What are the biggest exposures to critical illness? How does a recovery care plan work with my med sub plan?" Everyone asks like our clients, "Why do I need all of that if I have a Medicare supplement?" You said it covers everything. Well, there's
Sure.
non-medical approved expenses. Said you have a job. What if you lose that income? You said, I know a lady that paid $1,000 in parking fees. If you go to stay at a hotel, the med sub's not going to cover that. The plane ticket, it's not going to cover that. Little things like that.
Sure.
or facts that they know off the top of their head. They know these statistics: one in
Sure.
three men get cancer, or one in two men get cancer, one in three women get cancer. They know
Mhm.
all of that off the top of their head, so that way they can come off smoother when they're handling objections and not, I think this will help because of, whatever. It's just it daily training is huge because and that's the first thing we train our agents on is the ancillary. That's the first thing they learn.
Sure.
And we don't hire any experienced agents for our internal team because they all have bad
Mhm.
habits,
Yeah.
and it's hard. Like we have some external agents that come on, been doing it for 10 years, and it's hard to get them out of that mindset
Yep.
of, why did my
Crazy.
client need this? Well,
Yeah.
this is why they need this. And you sell it with conviction. And the other thing is we have these policies on ourselves. Like I have cancer, heart attack, and stroke on myself. I have all of
Yeah.
this stuff. And we tell the client that I believe in this product. I have it on all of my family members. If I get cancer, I'm going to get a $50,000 check. I'm paying for it
Yeah.
myself. So yeah, that's hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, yeah, no, I just think a lot of people just don't realize the importance, of it at all, and you know this, I mean, even for some of those seasoned agents, because 'cause I've ran across those as well, they kinda fight back on you, and it's like, "Hey, do you wanna increase your stickability rate as well?" I mean, that's another reason, right? You know this, it's data, it's factual that the more apps you have in a home, the more stickability or the more stickable that business is that you have long term. And once again, you're protecting the client at the highest level. I love something I want to go back to. I love the fact that you have a very scalable system, but you also have a very duplicatable system. You talked about all this training, right? But you're just basically plugging and playing these new people in with no bad habits, in regards to Medicare, and you're training them every day. Talk about the power of how of having a duplicatable system, how easy that is for new people to come in. Because you know this, Medicare is really hard to learn. It's like all these moving parts. It's like drinking from a high fire hydrant. So talk about why your duplicatable system makes it easier for them to come in and be successful.
100%. I say it all the time. Duplicatable sales process helps you scale and onboard agents as quickly as possible. We had an
Sure.
agent 2 weeks ago, LOA agent, came in, got licensed, contracted, started on a Monday, sold his first policy on a Wednesday. And I said,
Uh,
hey, that was a big one. What'd you sell? And he was like, I don't know. I just read the script. And
yeah.
of course, he did it all compliantly. It's all compliant scripts and everything. But having
Sure.
that word for word script makes it dummy proof to where,
Mhm.
it literally tells you if they're on Social Security, say this, if they're on employer plan, say this, if they have this, go here.
Mhm.
And having that just makes the whole process so much easier. Because when I started and hired my first two LOAs, it took them 2 to 3 months to get up to speed because all of the information was in my head and I didn't have
Sure.
that duplicatable sales process. Now
Yeah.
we have agents getting from 0 to 20K a month in agency revenue by their second month. Like my sister, she dropped out of school in December. In January, she hit 30K in revenue for the agency last month. And it's all because
Dude.
we have that duplicatable sales process. We train every day. And that word for word scripts is a game changer for sure.
Yeah, and it just gives them a roadmap, right? It makes it easier, and, I mean, you've even challenged me when I started watching some of your stuff because by nature, I'm not a script guy, right? I'm not a guy that's very detailed. I'm very spontaneous, and like you said, we have it up here, but if we're gonna recruit a team, we gotta be able to put it on paper, right? We gotta be able to train them and teach them how to do it, or you have 20 different people doing it 20 different ways, right? And
Hmm.
therefore, it hurts the scalability and the probability of the company. One thing I want to go back to too is you've used the word consistency a couple of times today in our interview. And Brandon, I always tell people because this we like to hear this word breakthrough in our industry, right? Breakthrough. Everybody wants a breakthrough, and they're going to events for a breakthrough. I truly believe that breakthroughs happen when we master the boring and basics every single day because
Yes.
consistency compounds. Talk about that, the consistency in our business and doing the boring and basic stuff every single day. And then you look up one day and this massive breakthrough has happened in your business. Would you talk about that for a moment?
That's a easy story on that is when I started and I was running Facebook ads, it took me
Yeah.
3 months to make my first sale. And like most people, the like agents will test two or three ads and then go tell you, oh, I've
Mhm.
tried Facebook, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing. It
Right.
doesn't work. And I'm like, I can literally show you that it does work.
Yeah.
But it takes time, and that's what I love about it too. Is there's a higher barrier to entry, so it's less saturation.
Sure.
Because if it
Yeah.
was easy, everybody would do it. But the people
Sure.
that are persistent and consistent with the process and can just lock in and wait for those results. It was literally month 3. I sold my first policy. I did like 3K in revenue. It was terrible, and I
Mm.
spent like 3K too. And then month 4, I did 17K in revenue. Month 5, I did 20. And then it was like 25, 25, 25 every month. And just, being consistent with that process and continuing to learn and train every single day and just dial in our processes. That's, what helped me get to where we are. A lot of people would have quit by probably
Yeah.
the first week after spending, $1,000. But it takes, a lot of testing and tweaking to dial that in. And then literally all it took was one ad. And once I found that one
Yeah.
ad, I scaled that, spent about 42 grand just on that one ad, made about 200 grand that year just off
Nice.
of that one ad. And that's all it took. That's the beauty about Medicare, with like e-commerce and stuff. You have to
Mhm.
constantly test different ads and different creatives and all that
Yeah.
stuff. With Medicare, you can have one or two as a solo agent that just scales to the moon. And like right now, we have a team of 10 and we're probably running maybe 3 ads right now, 4 ads. We're spending about 1700 $1,700 a day on those. And they haven't,
Yeah.
gotten diluted or saturated or anything. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just excuses that agents come up with, right? And I've been guilty of that at different seasons of my life. It's so easy to come up with excuses instead of just being consistent because we live in a culture that wants brand new. We want that breakthrough right away, right? And we don't want to sow any seeds. We want the harvest before the sowing of the seeds, in other words. And you've sown a lot of good seeds in your business, and now you're seeing this massive harvest. You're seeing this massive breakthrough. But what people don't see is you spent 2 years of doing the boring and basic stuff every day, right? And then the breakthrough just happened one day. Well, I want to close with this because what I've loved about you is you have your PhD in taking what I call massive imperfect action, right? You're always trying stuff. You're always testing stuff. You're always investing money in stuff. Where did that come from? And talk to the agents watching this today why it's important because you know this. Here's what I tell agents: the desire to know everything is the enemy of doing anything at all. You've seen that in our business, right? They want to know everything before they get going. You're just like, boom, I'm taking massive imperfect action no matter what. And it's worked
Yes.
for you. Talk about that as we close today.
It's funny you say that, Rob, because that's probably like the biggest advice I can give agents. Like literally the only way my philosophy is throw yourself in the deep end and teach yourself how to swim. Like
Boom.
I
Yeah.
just figure it out. And when I first hired my first 2 agents, I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured it out. You have like so many agents, like they're waiting for the perfect moment to start. They're waiting for all of
Yeah.
their Medicare knowledge to be ready, and you
Yeah.
you'll learn everything your first day working leads. Like you don't have to spend a month training. You're gonna get that experience, and you're gonna have to make
Yeah.
mistakes and fail forward. And I mean it's worked for me so far in everything that we do. I mean we
Yeah.
test things. We're starting a virtual assistant staffing agency. I had no idea how to do that, but I said, we've had a lot of demand. Let's figure it
Yeah.
out. So we figured it out so far. um, you know, taking on independent agents. I didn't even know how to do that 2 months ago. We now have 25, and we're just constantly
Nice.
improving and improving. So failing
Yeah.
forward and just figuring stuff out as you go is the best thing. Just taking action. Like I see so many people, agents going to conferences and stuff, and you see them 4 months later, and they're in the
Yeah.
same position. It's like, man, we just talked about how you were excited and you're going to do all this stuff. What happened? And I
Mhm.
mean, when I take things away, I do it that same day. And I don't know what it is. I don't know where I get it from, but that's the probably the only reason I'm where I'm at today. And
Sure.
that's the biggest advice I can tell people is like, if you're watching this, just go do it. Don't quit
Yeah.
overthinking it. Don't have analysis paralysis. Like
Yeah.
you're just going to be stuck like everyone else. You have to go
Yeah.
just take action, figure it out.
Yeah. Well, no, it's very encouraging, man. I want to encourage you to keep that because it's a superpower of yours for sure. And it's very infectious. And talking about conferences, we have so many agents that are obese on information and they're anemic in the implementation part, right? They never get from getting the information to the implementation. And I love what you said too. Listen, if you're watching this today, your confidence will catch up. I promise you, right? You just got to start consistently putting in the reps as Brandon has told us, throughout this whole interview. Brandon, as we close today, you talked about external agents, internal agents. What if somebody says, man, I really like what this Brandon guy is saying, but I'm going to need some mentorship. I'm going to need some hand holding, so to speak. I'm going to need someone to really show me the ropes. How can people partner with you? Obviously, you're doing some LOAs, you're doing some external. Will you talk about even the school community you have and the other stuff that you have that are value add-ons for agents that may want to connect with you and join your team?
Yeah, we're actively, building the downline distribution, and that's something like we really take pride on. Is we train every day, every morning with our downline distribution. We provide one-on-one mentorship support, but the biggest thing is we actually teach them how to own their own marketing. So we basically teach them how to run Facebook ads, how to build the funnels that we have, and basically give them the whole blueprint of how we built our business and
Sure.
went from 0 to 200K a month in just over 2 years. And that's our goal, is just to get as many agents up to speed. And I mean, they can reach out to me, to my personal cell. Like I tell everyone, even if they're not partnered with us, I try to give as much free
Yeah.
information as I can. Like you don't have to move your
Yeah.
contracts or anything. Just give me a
Yeah.
call. I'll get on a
Yeah.
15-20 minute call and help you out as much as I
Yeah.
can. Of course,
Yeah.
my time, I have to,
Yeah. Respect your
yeah,
brother's
but
time, though, right? Respect your brother's time. Yeah, I
yes,
got it. Yeah.
yes, but, I do try to give a lot of information. We have a YouTube channel, but you can reach out
Sure.
to me at my cell phone number is 361-945-9997, and you can reach out. My YouTube channel is just Brandon Della Pena. We're posting more content there, and I have an
Mhm.
Instagram as well. It's Brandon DLP1, where we're posting, some agent-focused content there as well, and I'm just trying to
Sure.
give as much, free value as I can. We don't sell anything to our agency partners either. We try to, provide as much free information because we're incentivized to, help them grow. And if
Sure.
they aren't partnering with us and they do want, access to our information, we do have a schools program that you can reach out and, we could talk about that. They will get access
Okay.
to our schools program plus our daily trainings as well. And yeah, we can, pretty much, like I said, give them the blueprint of how we build our agency. And that's
Yeah.
my goal, is just helping as many agents as possible.
Yeah, and, thank you for coming on today, man. Like, you've dropped some serious gold today, some nuggets that I think is gonna help some people. We'll put all Brandon's contact information in the video description below. As we close, Brandon, is there something you just go, "Man, it's just burning inside of me. I need to share, with the audience today before we close shop?"
Honestly, what I explained earlier, just take action. That's the
Yeah.
biggest advice I can tell people. Like there's so many agents that know so much more than me when it comes to Medicare, and they come to me and they're experts. They literally are experts, but they're afraid to, go try something new, go try marketing on Facebook because they've never done it before. And they're used to grassroots and sitting in Walmarts and all that stuff, which is great. But
Mhm.
they tell me they wanna get from A to B, but you gotta take that first step, you know?
Sure.
That's the biggest thing, is even if you're a new agent, like, you know,
Yeah.
just go dive deep. You don't need to know everything before you start. The biggest thing that, you said is, you said your confidence will catch up. I love that,
Yeah.
and that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, you know that. A lot of people are like, "Well, I'm not confident." I'm like, "Well, your confidence will catch up, but you gotta start with being consistent, and then through your consistency and the training that you're talking about, there's competence, and the more competent I am, the more confident I am." But we try to start with confidence first, and we just need to put in the reps, those consistent reps. So, definitely
I
love the
agree.
value that you brought today to our audience. Once again, thank you for your time. We'll make sure that we put your contact information in the video description below. And by the way, guys, If you are looking to take a deeper dive in this webinar method, I want you to go check out this brand new interview that I did with my webinar guy here.